If you've been hearing about artificial intelligence everywhere lately and quietly wondering whether you've missed something, you haven't. Nobody ever sat you down and explained it. So that's what we're going to do here. No jargon, no rushing, just what this thing actually is, in plain English. Before we start, let me say who I am. I'm Connie. I'm not an engineer. I don't work for any of the companies that make these things. I'm someone who sat down and worked out how it all fits together, and I'm going to walk you through it the way I wish somebody had walked me through it. Slowly. And without assuming you already know anything. And do stay with me right to the end, because there is one rule, a single rule, one sentence long, that will keep you out of very nearly all the trouble people get into with these things. I'll give it to you before we finish. Now, 3 years ago, most people had never said the words artificial intelligence out loud. Now it's on the evening news. It's in the letter from your bank. It's in the headline of the morning paper. Your grandchildren mention it at dinner like it's the weather. And at no point did anyone stop and explain it. There was no announcement, no pamphlet in the mail, no evening class at the library. It simply arrived, fully formed, and everyone carried on as though you'd already been briefed. So let's be clear about something before we go any further. Not understanding this is not a personal failing. It is not a sign that you have fallen behind. Most of the people using it every single day could not tell you what it actually is. They just push the button. By the end of this video, you're going to understand it better than they do. Let's start with the official definition. You've probably run into it somewhere, and it's worth seeing exactly why it doesn't help. Here it is. Artificial intelligence is computer systems performing tasks that normally require human intelligence. Now, that is entirely accurate. It is also almost completely useless. It's the same as saying a car is a self-propelled road vehicle. Perfectly true. And it tells you nothing about what it's like to drive one, where you could go in it, or whether you'd trust it in the rain. So let's set that sentence aside deliberately. Here's the version that actually works. And here's the good news. You already understand this. You just don't know that you understand it. Think about your telephone for a moment. When you type a message on it, the phone offers you the next word before you finish typing. You start with the letters T and R, and it offers you tree. You type the word how, and it offers you are or is. How are you? How is this done? Your phone isn't thinking. It has never met you. It has simply noticed across an enormous number of messages which words tend to follow which other words, and it offers you the most likely one that's autocomplete. You've been using it for years now. Artificial intelligence is that exact same thing. It is autocomplete, made enormously more powerful. It has read more writing than any person could get through in 1,000 lifetimes. Books, newspapers, letters, instruction manuals, recipes, arguments, conversations. And out of all of it, it learned the same lesson your phone learned. Which words tend to follow which other words. Only it didn't stop at the next word in a text message. It learned the next sentence in a letter, the next paragraph in an explanation, the next answer to a question. So when you ask it something, it is not looking up an answer in a filing cabinet. It is completing the sentence, one word at a time, choosing each one from everything it has ever read. Ask it whether the sky is blue, and it does not look up at the sky. It works out which words normally come after that question. And the answer comes back yes, because that is what follows. Superpowered autocomplete. That is the whole engine. Now let me give you a second way of thinking about it. This one is a little less accurate, but I find it far more useful. Think of it as a personal assistant who has read everything. People will tell you not to think of it as a person, and technically they're right, but it behaves like one in some very particular ways, and knowing those ways will save you trouble. It makes mistakes the way a person does, and here's the one that catches everybody out. It wants you to like it. If you tell it that it's wrong, it will very often apologize and agree with you. Even when it was right, it folds. It would rather please you than correct you. So if you push back on something, it told you, and it immediately backs down. Don't take that as proof of anything. It agrees far too easily. But here is the deepest difference. That assistant does not know things the way you know things. When you know your own address, you know it because you live there. You've walked to that door in the dark. When this machine produces your address, it produces it because those words fit the pattern. It has no beliefs. It has no opinions of its own, although it can imitate having them very convincingly. It has no intentions. And unless you specifically tell it to remember something, it has no memory of you at all. Close the window, come back tomorrow, and you are a stranger to it again. And if that just landed, if that's the first time any of this has actually made sense, then do subscribe. I make these regularly, one small piece at a time, and I'd like you to have them. Now, it's worth knowing how we arrived here, because it did not happen overnight, whatever it may have felt like. The first electronic computers filled entire rooms. Rows of glass vacuum tubes, glowing inside gray metal cabinets, stacks of punch cards, great reels of magnetic tape turning slowly behind glass, teams of people in white coats walking between the machines with clipboards. Those machines could calculate. They could not converse. Then in 1997, something happened that made the front pages all over the world. A computer built by International Business Machines called Deep Blue played the world chess champion Garry Kasparov, and it beat him. The photographs from that match show Kasparov sitting at the board with his head in his hands. The headlines announced that machines had overtaken human thinking. They hadn't, really. Deep Blue could play chess and do absolutely nothing else. But it rattled people, and you can understand why. Then came the smartphones. Somewhere in the 2010s, you could speak to a phone on your kitchen counter or in your car, and it would answer you out loud, set a timer, tell you the weather, frequently get it wrong, and then, at the end of 2022, a free website appeared called ChatGPT. You could type a question in ordinary English, the way you'd write a note to a person, and it wrote an answer back, not a list of links. An answer. Millions of people tried it within a few weeks. That is the moment the phrase artificial intelligence arrived at your dinner table. Now here's something most people never realize. It is already in your house. It has been for years. That autocomplete on your phone we talked about. That's this. When your bank sends you a message asking whether you really did make a purchase in another state. A machine noticed that pattern. When your television service puts a particular film on the front screen, and you think, well, that does look like something I'd enjoy. That is this as well, when your camera brightens a photograph before you've even pressed the button. When a modern hearing aid lifts one voice out of the noise of a crowded restaurant, none of that asked your permission. None of it required you to understand a thing. It arrived quietly inside devices you already owned. So if you've been thinking you have never used artificial intelligence, you have. You just weren't told. There's a great deal more of that than most people realize, and I'll keep walking you through it. Subscribe if you haven't already. So what is it actually good for? Practically, in an ordinary week, it is very good at explaining things. If you have a letter in front of you that you don't understand, an insurance document, a medical result, something from a government office written in that dense official language, it will put that into plain words for you. It's good at first drafts. A difficult letter you've been putting off, a note you don't know how to begin. It will write something imperfect that you can then correct, and correcting something is a great deal easier than facing a blank page. And it is endlessly patient. You can ask the same question 4 different ways. You can tell it you didn't follow that and ask it to try again. It will never sigh. It will never make you feel foolish for asking. For a great many people, that turns out to be the most valuable part of all. Now the part you genuinely need to know. This is the one I promised you at the start. This machine can be completely, confidently wrong, not hesitant, not uncertain. It will state something entirely false in exactly the same calm, assured tone it uses for the truth. There is no change in the voice. There is no warning. It will invent things. Names of people who never existed. Dates for events that never happened. It will refer you to a book with an author and a year of publication, and that book will simply not be real. And here's why. Remember what it's actually doing. Completing a pattern. Choosing the words that fit. It is not checking anything against the world. It has no way of knowing when it's wrong, because it doesn't know things in the first place. To this machine, a convincing falsehood and a fact look exactly the same. So here is the rule. 1 sentence. Use it to understand something. Use it to draft something. But never treat it as the final word on your money, your medicine, or the law. For those 3, you check with a person. That one rule will keep you out of very nearly all the trouble. So let's gather up everything we've covered, and you'll see how little of it there really was. Artificial intelligence does things that used to require human thinking. Underneath, it is autocomplete. Enormously powerful autocomplete, built from more writing than any person could read. It is not a person, but it has some very human flaws. It makes mistakes, and it would rather agree with you than correct you. It is already in your house and has been for years. It is very good at explaining things and writing first drafts. And it is endlessly patient with you. And it can be confidently, completely wrong which is why it never gets the last word on your money, your medicine, or the law. That's the whole of it. That's what everyone has been talking about. One last thing, and it's the most important thing here. You are not behind. Nobody has mastered this. The tools change every month. The people who built them are still publicly arguing about what they've built and what it means. There is no room full of people who have this all figured out while you're back here catching up. That room does not exist. Learning one small thing at a time is not the slow way to do this. It is the correct way. It's how everybody does it, including the ones who sound confident. There is no exam, there is no deadline, curiosity is enough. So, if this was useful and you'd like the next one explained the very same way, no jargon and no rushing, then subscribe and I'll keep them coming. The next one is about the things you should never type into one of these. There are a few of them, and they matter more than you'd think. And if there's something you'd like me to explain, leave it in the comments. I read them, and I'll make the video. I'll see you there. I'm Connie, and take your time.